Hey everybody, welcome to 5-Minute Theory. My name is Mark Wessels and I'm going to be taking you through this entire 30-lesson workbook on learning about music theory. And music theory is just the nuts and bolts of how to read music and to understand the musical concepts. So we're going to do this lesson by lesson. There's sometimes where it makes sense just to do the lesson with me. While I'm explaining it, you can kind of follow along and just draw in the worksheet that you have, but sometimes it'll be good for you to complete the worksheet and then use my video to check your answers. And I'll kind of work my way through that and tell you when it makes sense. All right. The very first thing you want to do with lesson number 1, if you have the book in front of you, great. If you don't have the book, for the first 5 lessons, I give you a free downloadable PDF that you can just print out so that you can learn the very, very basics of music notation. At the top of every lesson is the most important thing, is writing your name. All right? And I do this, if you're at home by yourself and you're just kind of working through this on your own, then you don't have to write your name. But if you're in a band class, writing your name at the top, a lot of times teachers will have you tear out the page and hand it in to get credit for, or to show them that you actually did the work. So make sure you write your name at the top of the page. What we're learning in this lesson is the very basics. We are learning that music is written on a staff. A staff has 5 lines, okay? What we're also learning is that your instrument, because you're playing a low-pitched instrument, is pitched in a bass clef. Now, there are all kinds of clefs. We have a K clef for violas. We have a treble clef, obviously, for high-pitched instruments like flute, clarinet, or percussion, bells. But we also have the bass clef for low-pitched instruments. Tuba, trombone, baritone, and even on percussion, timpani uses bass clef. The bottom end of a marimba uses the bass clef. So it's really helpful to know both clefs. So number 1, we are drawing the 5 lines between the guides to make a musical staff. Now I have this wonderful iPad so I can make all of my lines nice and perfect. On your own, try to make those as clean as you can. Okay? So 5 lines makes up the musical staff. On number 2, we're going to learn how to draw the bass clef. And this is really important because if I didn't have a clef at the beginning of a piece of music, then I wouldn't know all of the notes that are on the staff. I wouldn't know where they are on the keyboard or on your instrument. So let's learn how to draw a bass clef. You have it easy because a treble clef is much harder to draw. Bass clef, you just basically start with a dot around the second line here, and you make a curly Q, and then you end up down here. So let's draw a few of those on your own. It's almost like an ear. Okay? I don't want to go beyond the staff. I don't want to go up here and make it humongous. Okay? Let's just keep it within the staff. The other important parts of the bass clef is the 2 dots, because the 2 dots tell you what line is the F. This is also known as the F clef. We'll get to all of that stuff in a minute, but 2 dots, and you can do those on the top 2 spaces. Okay, on this final one, I'm just going to trace my little ear, the bass clef, and then my 2 dots. So I'm going to draw 3 of my own. So I start here at that second line, go up to the top, go down, and then put my 2 dots in the spaces right here around the second line. Let's do a couple more. Boom, there's my ear, there's my 2 dots. My ear, my 2 dots, that's 3 of my own. Woohoo! I've done that. Remember that the bass clef uses low-pitched instruments. Now, in the band, I have a lot of low-pitched instruments. What's the lowest wind instrument in the band? Tuba. What's another low-pitched instrument? All right. Another one is a euphonium. I don't know how to spell that, so let's just call it a baritone. I actually know how to spell it. I'm lying. In percussion, I told you this, but think about the percussion section and an instrument that sounds really, really low that is pitched. Now the bass drum is a really low instrument, but it's not actually a pitched instrument. In percussion, the lowest pitch instrument is the timpani. So I'm going to write timpani down there. Timpani. So those are 3 low-pitched instruments in the band. We also have the trombone, which is a low-pitched instrument, and others that are in the orchestra. Let's move on to the second half of lesson number 1, and this one we're going to learn how to draw quarter notes. A quarter note, like any notes, has a note head. This one is a dot, and it has a stem, and a stem connects to the dot. Now, what we have to learn about quarter notes when they're on a staff is sometimes the stem connects to the right side of the note head and goes up. So as I'm coloring these note heads in, I can go up for the stem. Okay, I like to actually go down and connect it from the top down because I do that a lot better. It looks better. But you can go from the right side and go up. So those are quarter notes with the stem going up. Sometimes on a staff, to get the stems out of the way of each other so it looks really nice on a printed page, we connect the stem to the left side of the note head and go down. So color in these note heads and draw the stem going down. In music, some of the note heads intersect a line of the staff. So if I see this note head right here, notice that the line intersects. So the note head is right on the line. So let's draw a couple of those note heads that are on the line. I could do it here. I could do it here. And then let's finish it off by drawing a stem. Okay, stems can go up or down. I'll show you why in a minute. But the next thing that you need to know about how note heads work on a staff is that sometimes note heads are in the space between the lines. Okay, so that note head is in that space. So let's do a couple of those. All I'm doing here is making sure that the note head does not intersect the line at all. We definitely don't want to do that. We want to keep that right in the center of the space. So I can have my note head going up, or my stem going up, or I can have my stem going down. All right, so we finished lesson number 1. Generally, these lessons, I say 5-minute theory. It's really 5 minutes on the front side, 5 minutes on the back side. It's kind of what it is. It's about a 10-minute lesson. Anytime that you do one of these worksheets, 10 or less minutes, and I'll try to make them really fast. What we need to do is, as we're going through this book, is to do things as fast as possible. All right? Not because you need to get it done fast. You still need to get everything correct, but you need to start thinking fast as you're doing these. Don't get lazy and just not really try to do these as quick as possible. All right, so if you're finished with lesson 1, jump ahead to lesson number 2, and I'll join you in lesson 2.